see.
Ooh, it says we're live.
We're live.
How exciting.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Honestea Talks. I'm Ronnie.
I'm Ashley. Hi, everyone.
We got our tea.
Yes. Almost forgot about that.
Okay, so first and foremost, if you're tuning in, thank you for tuning in. And thank you for your patience with our hiatus.
Oh my goodness.
We are now on the opposite coast.
Yes.
Tell everyone where you're at, Ashley.
Yes, I am in Miami. I am. We are now literally from coast to coast. It's been so long, but we're so excited to be here to get to having these conversations again. And thanks to technology, we can have them even though we're not physically together.
Yes, I'm so grateful for this. And the cool thing that I think I love about this, because I'm all about the pros, right? Is that when we have guests now, we'll just be able to look into the camera instead of having to like constantly turn.
Exactly. Yes. It's going to be so much easier to have guests from everywhere, right? I think that that's what's cool too about this is that we don't have it's not, especially with the times that we're in, we don't have to have them with us right now.
Exactly.
We can bring them onto the broadcast and then be able to talk to them and look at them in the eye.
Yes, from the comfort of our homes.
Yes, exactly. It's really, really great. And I'm so glad that the universe has brought this together again. I'm so excited. We have so many juicy things to talk about.
Oh my God. Yes. Oh, and before we get into today's topic, I want to like let the viewers, let's give them a little recap about what's happened in the over a year and a half that we haven't done this. I can't believe how fast a year and a half has gone by.
I know. Isn't that crazy? I mean, so much time has passed by. So much has happened, but you can go ahead and start if you want.
Okay. So I moved back to Sacramento, California. I moved back in with my parents, which I'm so grateful for. Maybe at the time I wasn't, but now I am.
That's great.
But yeah, through everything that's kind of went down in 2020, like I am very grateful to be here with my parents instead of like in Southern California. But yeah, I'm back to being an entrepreneur. Like when I first moved back, I got a job because I needed something, but I also needed to build some clientele and kind of plant my roots back here. So yeah, so just back on that journey, entrepreneurial journey that gives me life, the peaks and valleys that give me life.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Absolutely. Definitely. I feel like that's definitely something we should talk about one day.
Oh, for
But
sure.
yeah, it's like that for sure. It's really, really great times and then really, really rough times. But I think that's what makes this journey so rewarding. I'm so happy to see you grateful and just joyful to be there with your family. This has been a really crazy journey. I mean, like moving back here, for me, I moved back to Miami also with my family, and I am so grateful. Like, I would have hated going through all of this in California. Like, I know that I'm exactly where I'm meant to be.
Yep.
I know everything happened and unfolded exactly as it was supposed to.
Exactly. Ooh, I got chills. You already know.
And we're only like 4 minutes in.
I know.
But I mean, sometimes we can't see that, right? Sometimes we can't understand why things are unfolding or happening the way that they are. And I mean, just in trusting the journey, I'm very, very grateful because I'm so glad to be here with my family again. And even to get annoyed by them is such a thing. Like, I love being here and I'm grateful that I'm here. And it's been really, really cool. I've been able to do a lot, even before the pandemic kind of happened. I was speaking at events. I met so many awesome people here that, like, exactly when I moved back. So it was such an alignment. It was exactly, I knew that I was meant to be here, even with everything going on within myself and all of these like inner battles that I was having. It was so divinely aligned. And I mean, I've met so many amazing people and have done so many cool things. And so I'm very, very blessed to be here.
Yeah. Yeah.
At least for
Amen.
now, because who knows where we'll be a year from now? Like, we'll probably be talking from totally different parts of the world. I mean, who knows?
Who knows? Yeah. Like,
Yeah.
I was just thinking that yesterday, like a year ago, none of us thought we'd be locked down in our houses.
I
We were
know.
all getting ready for Thanksgiving week a year ago, like
Yes.
this was not on anyone's mind.
No, you never know. You
Yeah.
really don't know. That's why it's like so important to live in the moment and
Yep.
to just like focus on what we need to focus on right now.
Yep.
Because you can plan, and I'm an advocate for like, writing down goals or any dreams that you might have and being specific about it, and like working towards accomplishing them. But at the same time, like, you have to do that with detachment too, because you
Yes.
never know what can happen. Like, I could not have foreseen this. I could not have foreseen even living in California, right? I had no idea that I would be that's not something that I could have planned for or even knew was going to happen. So
Yeah.
that's how it is for the future. I have no idea. I can only hope for and work towards the present moment and work and be so present that it allows me to have the best future possible. But I don't know what tomorrow holds. And
No. The only thing from that you'll know is that you'll be a better version tomorrow of what you were yesterday. That's the
absolutely.
only given. If you're working on yourself and focusing on the now, that's the only thing that's going to be that for sure that tomorrow I'm a better version of who I was than yesterday,
Definitely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay, so you ready to get into the topic?
Yes, I'm so excited.
Okay, I'll let you introduce the topic because this was your idea.
Yay. Okay, so I was watching this thing on Snapchat. I don't know how it came to me or how I even started seeing it, but this series that Snapchat has that's called Love Don't Judge. I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
I know, right? The title in itself reeled
Yeah.
me in. It got me.
Yeah.
And I'm so glad it did, because I started watching this, and already, like, along my journey, I have been doing a lot of unlearning and a lot of like really letting go of the conditioning, the things that we've been conditioned to believe, essentially, right?
Yeah.
But I definitely needed this show, because on this series, it basically highlights different relationships that maybe we're not used to seeing, or societally we don't really understand or deem acceptable.
Yeah.
And
Because we're not shown it. We're only
exactly,
shown certain
exactly,
socially acceptable.
for sure, right?
Yeah.
To where you literally, like, I know that I definitely was one of those people that, because I never saw it, I never believed that it was right or okay or moral. And being able to see how many people, because there's like, I think 5 seasons or
6.
like six
Yeah,
seasons.
there's 6 seasons.
Wow. Oh my goodness, that's incredible.
And there's so many different I don't know how many episodes are in each season, but like there's so oh, I get chills. There's so many different kinds of relationships.
Yes.
Like so many.
Yes. That we never hear about, right? Like,
No.
most of these, I really like, even though I knew about different kinds of relationships, they had never been seen. I had never seen, unless it was like a show of like a show on polygamy, right? Like, I was never exposed to, just like most of us were not exposed to seeing these things, right?
Yeah.
And this series really just like opened my mind and my eyes and my heart to how much and how many different ways love can be expressed.
Yeah.
And I was just like, I was so happy. Like, the only way I can explain it is just feeling so grateful that they showed this, that they made this, and so joyful seeing so many different expressions of love. And so I was like, we have to talk about this. I was so excited to talk about it, and to share it with people so that people can actually see the show and see kind of like the different relationships that people are having that are thriving, that are flourishing and doing so well, right?
It should be. I honestly, like, this should be more than just a Snapchat series. Like this needs to be on like Netflix or something like that, because people need to be exposed to this stuff.
Yes.
You know, like it's one thing, like maybe you might randomly see a couple that you look at and you're just like, oh, they're a couple. And then you go about your day, right? But like it gives kind of the insight of what that couple experiences from the outside world, which I think is cool and interesting, because how many of us, and I'm guilty of doing this in the past, like how many of us actually look at something and we're like, huh, like I know me personally, I've seen people like, and I'm like, man, look at her. Like even she's got a girlfriend and I don't, or a boyfriend, or I don't know why it came out that way, but like, look at, even she's got a boyfriend. Why don't I have one? You know what I mean? Like, but why would I think of it that way?
Exactly.
Like I shouldn't even be thinking of it that way. I should just be looking at it like, oh my God, look at, they're so in love, you know?
Yeah, and that you brought up something that's so important, because that's what you were taught to believe, right? Like, and even she, as if like she's not deserving of love, as if it's like a miracle for somebody that looks like that, or even the interabled relationships. Like that was something that I really was so inspired by, the interable. So
what's
basically interable is like you have someone that is disabled with someone that is.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I don't think I watched that episode, so I don't know. I didn't know that term.
Oh my goodness. I learned it from the show because I had no idea, right? And I found that, so in that series specifically, right? And each and every one of these relationships got backlash from society, right? Like because of what you just mentioned, we're taught to totally reject and resist these things and these very loving, normal relationships that, because we don't see and because they're not represented, we think are like an abomination, right?
Yeah.
And excuse me. And with the interable one especially, so many people, they would get comments like, why would she want to be with you, right? She's just with you for the money. Like, why would she ever want to be with someone that's disabled? And that reminded me of what you just said, and how, like, man, even they can have somebody, I can have somebody too. And that mindset is so like, why do we even think that way? Why is that fair? Yeah, they're human beings that deserve love, that embody love, that are love, and they deserve to be loved. And the fact that we think it's like, oh, there has to be something else for them to be with someone, because that doesn't make any sense. Like, why would anybody want to be with? And that's crazy to me that we even think that for a second, a split second. It's so wrong, and it's because of how much we've been conditioned.
Yep. No, you're very right. Oh, I thought you froze for a second. Yeah, what a couple that I got through, one of them was a guy with two, I don't know if they were married yet, but they were two girlfriends.
Okay.
And then one of them was an interabled one. So like it was, I want to say it was from season 1, and she had like a muscular degenerative disease and she was in a wheelchair, and then he was the one that was abled. So he would like do her makeup and things like that. And one of the things they talked about was how her friends were suspicious of him wanting to be in a relationship with her. And it's like, why? Like, shouldn't you be happy that your friend is in a happy and loving relationship? Like, why would you not want that for her? You know what I mean? Why do you automatically go to the negative of like, why does he want to be? So it's like, love is love, right? You cannot, when it's true and from the heart and soul, you don't see the physical. It's how someone makes you feel. It's the joy, it's the fun, it's the inside jokes. It's, you know what I mean? Like, so that's what they feel. That's what they see in one another. That's soul connection. And you can't turn that off when regardless of what the outside appearance is or how you wish to share it, you know, because love is abundant.
Yes. And I think that because of how we view it, because we have this idea of what a relationship should be. We sometimes miss out on that, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like we in a sense cut our blessings sometimes too, when we think, oh well, I'm not going to honor what I feel because of society and what society will think, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think that that's so, it's so unfair to ourselves and to others, because then what if you want to be with somebody that society just doesn't deem as acceptable or
Yeah.
even moral, right? The sad part about it is that there's a lot of this is immoral behind it, to where I've seen so many episodes of, you know, like people in polygamous relationships that were raised going to church, that were really like, you know, believers of God and Jesus, and you know, like we're constantly volunteering in the church, and then thrown out because of love, because of the
Yeah.
love that they were wanting to express with each other and wanting to love freely and openly, and for that to be seen as immoral, right? And like it's just so crazy, but it makes sense because of what we've been taught, and
Yeah.
because of what we have since we're young. We're taught to like work towards this one
Blinders
relation.
on and search for
Yeah,
that one magical person
one person,
that
and
has
then
to be the opposite sex.
yes, and that has to be a certain age, that has to look a certain way.
Yeah.
Then you have to get married and only be with that. You know, like if that is what you truly, truly want, then great. But if it's not,
Yeah.
it's important for us to talk about these things so that you can know that it's okay, even if you are
Exactly.
still told that it's not.
Exactly. Exactly.
Still to this day, people are told that the
Yeah.
love that they have for who they have it for is wrong. And I think
Yeah.
that's like, oh,
Love existed before religion.
yeah,
Like, you know what I mean? Like the essence and the vibration of what love is, especially if you're going to write God is love in the Bible, like
yes.
then you can't, there's no rules and restrictions to that. Like
No.
it's embodying the essence of it and sharing that essence with another individual. And if you feel it on a deeper level with another individual,
Yes.
what does it matter who, you know? And the other thing, looking at that, like when it comes, I think the people looking at it and judging it, like you really have to sit with yourself and ask yourself why what someone else is doing is bothering you inside. You know what I mean? Like
Absolutely.
that's a self there's a lesson there for the self. Like
Yeah.
why am I so worried about what they're doing? I
Yeah.
need to focus on me. You know?
Especially when it's not hurting you, right? Like
Exactly. Yeah.
when I was hearing the comments that these people were getting in sharing their relation, because a lot of the people that are on this series have shared their journeys on social media, whether it's through YouTube or Instagram, in their own personal profiles, right? So
Yeah.
that they can share this message that love is love and that you shouldn't judge people. And the comments that they were getting were absolutely like horrific. And you know, they have really positive ones too, but they still receive so much judgment.
Yeah.
And it's like so crazy to think that that still happens, but that's happened to me too, right? Like I've really had to sit with myself, even when I've come across people that are like, no, I can't be with just one person, I want to be with multiple people. In my mind I was like, you just want to sleep around, like you're when I didn't understand it, and I
Yeah.
didn't even try at that point, and where I was on that journey, right? I didn't even try to understand, because in my mind it was all about just like, no, this is wrong, right?
Mhm.
But it really does take, just like you said, a lot of self-reflection and a lot of unlearning, a lot of like,
Yeah.
why do I feel threatened, or not even threatened, why do I think this is wrong? Where does
Yeah.
this come from, right? Like, why do I believe that this expression of love is wrong and my expression of love is right? Why do I think
Yeah.
that this is immoral? Where does that come from? Where did I learn that, right? And really sitting with where that comes from, and really understanding that there's they're not hurting anybody. Like what
No.
they're doing isn't hurting themselves, and it isn't hurting anybody. Like this is something that makes
Exactly.
them truly happy, and I find people happy like a blessing. I
Oh,
feel happy seeing
totally.
people
Yes.
happy.
Yes. Like if you found it in this person, good job. Like, I'm proud of you, you know, like you found something that is a beautiful thing. You get to share this companionship, this, like I said, the fun, the inside jokes, the like quirky things and the annoyances, but then it's that person. You want it with that person, you know, and why wouldn't we be happy for that? Like, why, you know what I mean? Like, they're not affecting me. They're living their lives. They're
Yes.
enjoying their lives. And at the end of the day, that's what it is, right? Like, I know you as a coach and me as a coach, my whole thing is like helping people find what is their happy, you know? Like, why would I want to continue sharing misery with people? Like,
No,
you know what I mean?
for sure. And also making people feel like what they're doing is wrong. Like I think that
Yeah,
especially when they're not hurting anybody, you know, like in every series that I saw, in every episode that I saw, all I saw was just joy and an expression of love in a unique way, in a way that maybe I was not exposed to, right? And
exactly.
in a way that was different but not bad and not it just was, you know, it was just a
Yeah,
beautiful expression of joy and love, of struggles, right? Them sharing their own struggles
yeah,
and having a different view and understanding that like maybe what you think is right and have been raised to believe is right when it comes to relationships especially isn't the only way. And just
exactly.
because it's different and it veers off from what you're used to doesn't mean it's wrong and doesn't mean
Exactly.
it's bad, because like it's just it's not affecting me negatively or anyone else negatively in any way. If anything, it's inspiring people to live authentically and
Yes,
honor what they truly want and need. Because I think
exactly.
that sometimes because of this like box that we need to fit into, if we don't fit that or we crave something else, we totally suppress that and then are like, okay, well, I'm going to ignore what I really want and then just do this. And then it leads to a lot of unhealthy relationships, even though they fit into this perfect mold of what a relationship should be. You know, like
Mhm.
the point in my eye, in my perspective now, the whole point is to have a healthy relationship with whoever you're with. If that's with multiple people, if that's with one person, if that's with someone that is disabled, if that's with someone that's older than, whatever the case may be,
Yeah.
as long as it's a healthy, consensual, because that's really, really important,
Yeah.
right? A healthy, loving, growing
Honest
relationship,
too.
honest,
Yeah.
yes, then I don't see how that could ever be wrong or immoral. I feel like it's so important to really get people to understand that there's so much more. There's so
Oh,
much
yeah.
more when it comes to love and its expression. And we don't have to like it or even agree with it. We just have to be like understanding. Just
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, yeah, like even though I don't see myself in anything like polyamorous or anything like that, like I'm not going to sit here and judge others for wanting it. Like
Exactly.
if that's what you feel your heart wants and you have that much love to give, like and but all parties involved are aware of it, like cuz that's I think the key thing in those situations,
Definitely.
then by all means like do what you need to do for one another to take care of one another and not hurt one another. You know what I mean? Like what you just said exactly. Like
Yeah.
uh, there has to be that honest factor, especially when multiple people are involved, I think.
Yeah.
Um, but also that communication of, are we good? Are we still, you know, is this what we all want, you know?
Sure.
And also understanding that like it's okay if they want to part ways and it didn't work out for them, you know? But again, it all comes back down to that being honest and authentic with yourself so that you can express that openly with a partner or multiple partners.
Exactly. And I love that you said that, because something that I noticed with all of the episodes that I saw, especially when it came to polygamy, was
Mhm.
that communication was huge, right?
Oh,
And loyalty was huge. That it wasn't, because we view polygamy sometimes as this like, oh, it's, which is very different than an open relationship, right?
mm,
But we see it like, oh, the male, right, which is praised for having multiple women most of the time, can do whatever he wants, and that's really not what a committed polygamous relationship is. But
yeah,
if we keep viewing it that way, and we don't really like have conversations with people or even listen to
yeah,
to those experiences, then we're not going to understand it. And it's
Yeah.
really allowed me to understand that they have to work extra hard to communicate with each other, and to make it very clear that they're not choosing one of the partners more than the other, right? Like, they have to really work on, and imagine a relationship with one person is challenging, so imagine with more than one.
Yeah.
It's just
I
a
can't.
lot of communication. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
not easy. I can imagine, but it's not wrong. It's just
No,
different.
exactly.
And it's
Exactly.
a challenge that they have invested in and committed to, because they love each other. And
Yeah.
that I find so beautiful. I find it so powerful and beautiful that even though it's not like accepted or deemed normal in society, it's still something that, because they love each other so much, they are willing to do that extra work, because it
Yeah.
does take a lot of work and effort. So I think it's in any situation where we look at something in in relationships, right? And we see people, it's just so important to catch ourselves when we start to judge, or when we start to say like, oh, that's just not going to work, or that's not possible, or that's not healthy. You, like, if you're not in the relationship, you don't have the right to say that.
Exactly. Exactly. Or if you're an individual, like for myself, at least, if I'm around someone that might talk that way, I would ask them. I would
Yes.
make them inquiry within themselves, like, why do you feel like you have to have an opinion on their you know what I mean? Like, that's who I am. Like, I pose questions to make people question their perception on things.
Yeah.
Because for me personally, and this is going to lead into what I wanted to ask you next, was that like I don't, you, and I've told you this, I don't believe in labels at all. Like, I hate that we've come down to being the society where we have to label every freaking thing. Because for me, I just see love, right? Like, I see two people in love now, and I'm happy for them. Like, I don't think that, just like we've had this conversation before, I don't think that if you're a man and you love a man, or you're a woman and you love a woman, that you have to come out of anything to express it.
Oh, for sure.
I didn't have to do that being straight. You shouldn't have to do it. You get to love who you want to love, you know?
Yeah.
So I want to hear your opinion on that.
Yeah.
And then I have another question after that.
Yeah. I love that you asked that. And I've obviously, like, you know, my stance on that too. I've always been like, it doesn't make sense. Like, why is it this way? And ultimately, I think the reason it's so important, and why people like want not to be labeled, but want to be seen, right? I think now I understand more that when people say, hey, this is my preference, or this is what I like, it's because for so long they weren't allowed to, right? Like, they weren't allowed to express their love towards their partners, or to whoever they have a preference to. So I think in a way it's a form of belonging that they deserve, right? Like, that's what has allowed me to really understand why labels, they shouldn't, right? It should all just be like, we are one, we're all human beings expressing love in different ways. And I wish it was like that, but
yeah, we got a long way to go.
Yeah, we're not there yet. And even with so many conversations I've had, especially within this year, we want that so bad. I want that. I want there not to be separation in any way, right? Like, I wish it wasn't like, oh, I'm Latina, but that's just my ethnicity. Like, I wish I didn't have to do that. I wish you just saw me for being a human being. And whatever I wanted to do was none of your business, you know? But it's so important in a world where so many of us have not been acknowledged and have not been allowed, right? Or even literally not allowed, and also not safe to be, right? Because people have gotten killed for being themselves, for expressing love towards who they want to express love towards, whether it's that's like to a person of another race, or to a person of the same sex, right? Like, same gender. So unfortunately, because we're not there yet, I think that's why so many people really just are like, this is who I am, and this is who I'm proud to be, right? Because the more people do that, the more other people are inspired to say, you know what, like, me too, and this is what I'm proud of as well. And just
community,
like show,
it allows for community.
Yeah, because even with the show, I noticed there were so many people that were like, well, I don't really like the term, like, there was one that I saw that they were like, I don't like the term throuple. They were like, we're not a throuple, okay, we're a triad. And I was and I was like, okay, like, they have not, all we know is the relationship. We don't know the triad. We don't know the throuple. We're not taught that. So their
Yeah.
way of saying, yeah, this is what we would like to be called, is their way of almost like gaining their power back and saying, well, this is what we are, right? And we're a relationship and we fit, right?
Yeah.
And we
Yeah.
deserve to be acknowledged. And I think that that's what's cool about it for now, right? Until we get to the place where relationship, when you see the word relationship, you're not assuming that that's just a monogamous
Yeah.
relationship. Or when
Yeah.
you see a human being, you're not thinking, oh, they're supposed to be with this person. Until
Mhm.
that doesn't exist within our consciousness and mind, then we can like totally relieve the labels and everything. But I think for right now, people are like, this is what we are and this is what we like to be acknowledged as, because they have been suppressed and hidden and shamed for generations.
I love that. I'm so glad that you took the time to explain it the way that you did, because it gave me another perspective to look at it, because you know me with labels. Like, I'm just like, nah, we're all human. And that's how I treat everyone. But I like that explanation, and I think more people need to hear it that way too. Like, there is a reason behind it, and you're right. There should be an acknowledgement, and they shouldn't be afraid to be acknowledged. Yeah, exactly. So that's awesome. Okay, so the next thing I wanted to ask,
Yeah.
because recently I read one of your tweets.
Yes.
And you talked about being pansexual.
Yes.
So since we're talking about relationships and things like that, like, I want you to dive into that a little bit more. Educate the viewers.
Well, I think so, just like what I was talking about when it comes to labels, right? Like, I think that because we have not seen anything other than this image of what love is or what relationships are, I think it's really important to go on this journey, right? Like, that we have been on this journey of self-love and really getting to know yourself and unraveling these truths about yourself. And so for me, it was really important to be fully authentic with who I am and getting to know that. And it's not this like day and night thing, right? Like, I feel like the reason it's so important for me to share every part of my journey is because it's a journey. It's not like one day I woke up and I was like, oh, I love myself, and now I'm great to be 100%.
It ain't like that, people.
No. Oh my God, no. Like, no, not at all. Right? Like, it's really important for people to know that even in every sense of self-expression, we have to get to know ourselves, and getting to know ourselves is not an overnight thing. Maybe you know yourself in certain aspects when you're younger, or maybe, I mean, there's just so many levels to it, right?
And that constantly changes, because even as you're unlearning the things you've been taught, you associated with those things. So now that you're unlearning it and you're moving forward into who you might truly be at your core, you're still learning that new part of yourself. So at no point are you ever the same person.
No, never. Exactly. And that's, to me, that's beautiful, right? To me,
For sure.
exciting, because it's just like when you're in a relationship with somebody, right? Or even a friendship. I'm still learning about you, right? Like, I don't know you definitely every single aspect of you. That's impossible. And I think that's a great thing, because if not, that would be so boring. That would be like, oh yeah, I know her, and left and right, up and down. Like,
I'm done.
I'm done. There's no need for us to hang out ever again. Well, that sucks, right? So even though it's hard, because we're like, oh, something new that I have to unpack, like, Lord, when is it gonna end? It's really so exciting, because every time I think I know me, I learn something new about me, right? And new also about this new version of me, right?
Exactly.
So it's like this never ending journey. And I think for me, it's been really important to really, especially with this year that I've had lots of time to just be with myself, and not, like, try to force myself to ignore things, or to, like, even when I was on this journey, I was so busy showing up for people that I wasn't able to really sit with myself and say, like, okay, what about you? Like, now you're the client. Now you're 100% the one that I'm gonna sit with. Like, what's up with you? Like, talk to me. Like, let me get to know you, and be vulnerable with me. right?
Yeah.
Like me to myself. And that has really just allowed me to just be fully free, and to just, even within myself, like without any need for anybody else to know, but for me to know who I am, and to know that still that's gonna change, right? And that might look different in 10 years or 5 years, but up to this point, like I have gotten to know myself in a deeper way, in a way that doesn't involve fear or the projection or the beliefs of other people.
Yeah.
And shows like this and so many other things that I've been able to witness and see have really allowed me to just stand in my truth and be like, this has always been me. But
Yeah.
because of society, right? Because of what we even truly, like, I remember being like, this is me, and knowing that, but being like, no, but maybe it's not, like maybe it's just maybe it's just bullshit, or maybe I'm just like, I don't know. I
It's
really
like overcoming that little seedling of doubt.
yeah,
Like you're just starting to learn who your authentic self is, and you're like, but it's like dipping your toe in the water. Like, is it warm enough to go all the way in,
yeah,
or do I need to go back and forth a few times
for
and like a
sure.
little bit more?
Yeah, absolutely. That's exactly how it is, right? Especially when we have to consider that, like what we just talked about, we have always been, for like so long, for years and years and years and years, we have been told that this is wrong, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Who you are is wrong, or it's weird, or it's immoral, or
yeah,
it's not acceptable. So what your brain is going to do for you to protect you is, this is not who I am,
yeah,
right?
yep,
And that serves you in a society that hurts you physically because of being who you are, right? So in a way, I have had to sit with myself and think my mind, just like many of us have had to suppress who we are in order to just survive. I
yeah,
mean, like, a lot of people still have to do that, and that's the sad part about it, right? It's that we're
yeah,
not yet at a place where it's even safe for people to be themselves. And so in that world, for us to be able to say, you know what, I'm gonna do it, right? Anyway, that inspires a lot of people. Just like every single relationship that we saw, once you see all the episodes, you see like all of them allow people to say like, okay, like what I want is not wrong.
yeah,
And if people still view it as such, that's their business, right? Like
exactly.
that is so liberating. To me, that's like, what? There's so much power in that. And the more people say that, the more people show how important and essential it is to just be your truest authentic self, the more it inspires other people to do the same. And hopefully that will lead to a world where it is
Yeah,
100% safe to just
yeah,
be
yeah.
yourself.
But yeah, it does. You're right. It has to start somewhere, and I think we're headed in that direction. Like I feel like we've got more people, no pun intended, coming out, but
Yeah,
coming out um in confidence,
yeah,
like in their true authentic. Like I've told you about my nephew,
yes,
and this past weekend I watched he won Mr. GAPA, which is the Gay Asian Pacific Alliance, that started in God, what year did it start? 88, I think.
wow.
1988. Yeah. And he won it last year, but this year they did a different kind of thing. So it was more of like a documentary of how GAPA started and whatnot. And I see him, and every time I see him performing and like wearing our traditional like Indian clothing and doing his thing that he's done since he was a kid with the dancing, like
Oh, I
I
love it.
love it. Like I'm so proud of him, and I'm so grateful that we're living in a time where he can do this, where he
Yeah,
can be himself, because I think back on older generations who didn't have that, or they still had to do it in secret, and so I understand, and I'm accepting of what you just explained with the labels and like being able to have that acknowledgement now,
yeah,
because
yeah,
it's fear. There are people that don't still, because they're so afraid, because of their communities or because of their families,
yeah,
and it's sad. That hurts my heart that they can't be
yeah,
themselves,
absolutely,
you know?
for sure. It's scary.
So
It is. And I think, like you said, I think what some people don't understand because they're not directly impacted by it too sometimes is that it is literally dangerous, right? Like
yeah,
that's really something that needs to be acknowledged. Even the people that shared their relationships on these platforms, like they get hate,
yeah.
not like, oh, this is weird. No, like you guys are gonna go to hell, or you guys are disgusting, like really hateful.
Literally the what are they called? Trolls. Like they hide behind
Yeah,
computer screens and just send
exactly.
like these hate vibrations, which is just you're not helping the world at all.
No,
Like,
no,
yeah,
it's horrible. It's horrible in every way.
yeah,
And so, of course, it's gonna be really difficult to just be. But on top of that, it's almost like it's almost for other people too, right? When you stand up and you say, "Look, this is who I am, and I'm gonna show you my full self," right? People are like, "I can do that," right? Like, I can do
yeah,
that too. So
yes,
I think that that's why it's also so important to label things, even if you don't like being labeled. Like,
yeah,
even with all these people that shared their journeys, they're like, well, I don't want to be in this box because this box doesn't define me, but
yes,
this exists, right? Like,
yes,
this
yes,
exists because if we don't acknowledge them, it's like they don't exist, and when they do, it's like horrible, and
yeah,
that's not fair. Like,
yeah,
we need to get to the point, and these conversations obviously help a ton,
yeah.
but we do want to get to the point where we see people in four relation. I don't know what it's called when you're in a I forgot, but when you're like in two, if there's like four people in a relationship.
Oh, I saw that one, but I don't remember the name. I didn't watch it, but I was gonna click on it because it was like it was a quadruple
Yeah.
poly something.
Yes. Something like that. I
Yeah,
obviously still learning and I need to get
yeah,
better. But
same, yeah.
yeah, I want us to get to the point where we see that, whether it's online or in person, we're like, look at them, they're in love, and great, like good for them, instead of hating it.
Agreed. And I think it really comes down to keeping an open mind. Like even if you are someone that's like a friend of one of these people, that's in a multiple person relationship.
Mhm.
I guess that's the best way to put it, a multiple person
Yeah.
relationship. Yeah.
Mhm.
Um, you're still their friend, you know? So it's like be the friend you were to this person even before they got into this relationship, you know? Like just because your friend now is in a multiple person relationship doesn't mean they're not any less your friend, you know?
Exactly.
So, and a
Absolutely.
lot of those can end amicably. Like I look at the not high profile, but like when you think of like Instagram influencers or people that have famous podcasts, I always when I think of a multiple person relationship, I always think of Aubrey Marcus, not Audrey, Aubrey Marcus. And he's the one, I think his company is like On It or something like that.
Oh yes, I know what
But
you're talking
he was in a
about. I do know that.
polyamorous relationship,
Okay.
and then they had a very mature thing going on, and he came to the realization that he wanted to marry one of them. He didn't want to continue being in a polyamorous, and they still have a great relationship with the girlfriend that is no longer part of their couple. But I think it also has to be shown more too, that
For
it
sure.
people are learning themselves and they're learning to see what they like or don't like. And like I always say, you are your own experiment.
Yeah.
So you have to try things to see if you like it or don't like it. You can't make the judgment without actually experiencing it, right? And well, unless you know for sure that you don't want to try
For
something.
sure. Absolutely.
But like,
Yeah.
but for the most part, like they tried it, they had a great run, and they came to the conclusion like, well, I have this deep connection with her. I want to spend my life with her. So I'm going to marry this one. And then the other one gets to open her horizons again and see what's out there for her, you know? So
Yes.
I'm glad that more people are talking about it. I'm glad this show exists to
Yes.
show like all the different variations of being in a loving, healthy relationship, because I think that's the important thing that needs to be shown is a
Yeah.
loving, healthy relationship, not what gender or sex or how many people are involved. Like
Exactly.
that.
And I think you just described that very clearly too in that example, because just like in any relationship, in a two-person relationship with a heterosexual relationship, right? That can be very toxic and unhealthy as
Oh
well.
yeah.
And
Oh
it
yeah.
can be that they don't part ways in a mature, healthy way. It could turn into a horrible, really unhealthy breakup.
I've
And
seen plenty of
so,
those. Yeah.
same, right? And so I think it's really important to acknowledge that doesn't that this idea of a perfect relationship is not perfect. There are struggles in every relationship, in friendships, in partner, in all different types of partnerships. And I think it's important to see that the goal is to honor what you truly want. And if that is something that's not hurting anybody and not hurting yourself and it's healthy, then go for it. Like, go
Yeah.
for it. Do what you want to do. Do what makes you happy.
Yeah. What just came to mind, I don't know why I pointed to my ears, but what came to mind was when you said the word relationship, like no matter what it is, they're all a ship, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Partnership, relationship, it all ends with the word ship. And
Yeah.
you want your ship to be balanced. You don't want
Yeah.
there to be a hole in it and water's leaking in and things like that. Like you don't want too much of this side or it's going to tip over and sink. You don't want, you know what I mean? So I think there's a reason it ends with the word ship.
Exactly. No, it's true.
That
I
balance.
agree.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's a teamwork regardless, right? A friendship takes teamwork. It takes communication.
Yes.
It takes getting
Yes.
to. I even read an article because I wanted to learn more, right? Because I was like, this is, why do we think this way? Like, what can we do to make it better? And it was talking about that, about how, like, sometimes we date a person 3 times and we just jump into a relationship and then we move in together and we don't even know this person. But yeah,
Yeah.
we wouldn't do that with a friend. But a friend is a relationship too, and we take our time. We get to know them. For like, we hang out with friends all the time.
Yeah.
We have conversations, right? And it's like sometimes we don't even do that with the partners that we're pursuing, right? We like don't even really know them, but we're like, I'm gonna get into this relationship, and it's like every single connection you have is some type of ship, some type of relationship, whether
Yep.
it's a romantic relationship or just a platonic relationship, whatever it is, right? You guys are the deciding factors of whether that's gonna work or not. And
Exactly.
the only way you know that is through communication and honoring yourself and what makes you happy. Because if somebody comes to me that I'm getting to know and says, you know what, I don't want to be in a monogamous relationship, and I don't know myself or know if I like that or am okay with that or not, I can try that and then decide whether that's for me or not.
Yeah.
Or I can be like, okay, yeah, me too. I don't mind. Whatever I feel, I have to be able to know and express and honor. And I just hope that we can make it so like seen and so normal in a sense that when people see it, they don't go quick to judging it or saying, you know what, that's not gonna work or that's for sure
Yeah.
impossible, because a lot of them work. They work and they work well, and
Yeah.
they're showing it, and they're happy and joyful. And just like some monogamous relationships work and some don't, some
Yeah.
other relationships work and some don't. And
Yeah.
that has more to do with the communication, the skills, the actual strengths that you have in a relationship, and not how the relationship looks.
Yeah. And I think the root of all of them is knowing yourself.
Yeah,
Is once you
absolutely.
know yourself and you know um what you want,
Mm-hmm.
you're better at communicating what it is that you want to move forward with or not move forward with, like if someone did come to you and was like, I'm with her, but we want you included. Is that something you're open to, and if you're solid in who you are, whether, what, let me give this a shot. I've never tried it. Or no, that's not the kind of relationship I'm looking for. But having the confidence in yourself to go whichever direction you wish to go in,
Absolutely. Yeah.
and putting that on the table when it's brought when the proposition is brought to you, you
For sure.
know?
Absolutely. And without it being like, no, what in the
Exactly,
world, you know?
exactly, yes.
Yeah, like just being like, I can understand why they would want that, right? Or like just being open-minded, like you
Yeah.
mentioned earlier, being open-minded enough to
And
say,
that it takes time to evolve into that person. I
sure.
will 100% be honest with you, 10 years ago, so something like that was presented to me, and I was like, "Oh, no, what?" Like, but I wasn't confident and sure in who I was, you know?
Yeah,
Now I could be like, "Oh, you know, like, I'm flattered, but that's not, you know, that's not what I want or look for." I wouldn't even say I apologize, I would just be like, "I'm flattered, thank
yeah,
you. However, it's not what I wish to be a part of," you know?
exactly.
More power to you. I hope you find who you want in your third person, but, like,
Exactly.
now that I know who I am, I know how to speak it confidently and in a kind way, because
Yes.
that's the thing I think that lacks is people quick to get either offended or because they don't know about it, they're just like, "Rah, no," you
Yeah,
know?
yeah, sure.
But
And I
when you're confident in yourself, then you know how to respond appropriately.
absolutely. And something with what you're saying, you're showing too the fact that it's not even only so much that you didn't know yourself then, but it's also you only knew what society taught you. And
Exactly.
society teaches us to like
Yeah.
totally reject anything
Yes,
out of
yes.
this box, right?
You're
Like,
so right, so right.
yeah, you're like, no, honey, because you're like, this is you sure you want to do this? Like, don't do
Yeah.
this, right? Because we don't know better. I've
Yeah,
been like that too, to where I'm like, yeah, right. Like you don't know what you're talking about, but I didn't know
yeah,
because of what I was so stuck on what I was taught that I
yeah.
wasn't able to even imagine something outside of that. So
Exactly.
I
Yeah,
came across that. I was like, no, 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 no. This is not okay. When it's like I didn't know enough, right?
yeah,
But now because we have so much information and
yeah.
we have so much technology and we have so many means of really learning, I think
Yes,
now we can't use that as an excuse anymore. We have to really like, okay, well, why did I react that way? Even if we do react that way and we respond in a way that's like, hell no, like you can then reflect with yourself in solitude and in intimacy with yourself and say, like, why was I so turned off
yes.
or so put off with that? Like,
Yeah,
why did that affect me so much?
exactly,
Why
exactly.
do I feel this way? Why do I perceive their relationship in this way? And through doing that, you're able to say, like, only because this is what I was taught. And
Yeah,
I don't believe this anymore. And I hope I wish them the best. And it's just not for me, maybe.
yeah.
But I'm okay and not even I'm okay. I'm happy for other people doing
This
what
is
makes
where
sense.
I see the statement, "Knowledge is power." Like, knowledge, it's not just a higher institutionalized education that is power. Knowledge is power no matter what you're learning. So what you just said is exactly that. Your self-inquiry is you learning yourself, so that's knowledge of self. But
Yes.
then doing the research and everything that you need to do about how people behave in a certain way or why they choose to live that way, like that's knowledge of others and applying it so that you have an open mind so that you
For sure.
don't react the same way. That's your power.
Yeah.
Right? If you're continuously choosing to react the same way, you're not using your knowledge or wisdom because you're
Exactly.
still repeating what is that? Here we go with the quote.
Oh man. I knew it was gonna happen.
That Einstein, I know it's Einstein. Um, it has to do with repeating the same thing but expecting a different outcome is
Exactly.
insanity. Yeah.
Mhm.
So it's like that's what it like that's where knowledge plays its part. Like when you know better, you do better. So
Yeah.
you
Exactly.
gain knowledge, you use that wisdom now to respond differently and not react the same way you've always done or the way society's always taught you to be because it's obviously
Exactly.
not working.
Yeah. And there's a way, right? Like there's a way of coming across something that is unfamiliar, right? And not writing it off as horrible, right?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
if it's unfamiliar, if none of if all of this goes against what you were raised to believe, that's okay, right? Because
Yeah.
you were
Yeah.
raised to believe it. There's you're not like a horrible person for thinking that this is wrong, but really learn why it's not. You know, like do your research and really like sit with yourself and like understand that if it's not hurting you and it's not hurting anybody else and it's not hurting themselves, then there's no reason why you should be condemning people for loving
Yeah,
themselves and those that they're with. Like
exactly.
there's no
Exactly.
reason. I have no valid reason. There's
Yeah,
never there's never a valid reason to condemn people that are not harming anybody, that are not
agreed.
harming themselves, that are working towards something that makes them happy and that doesn't hurt
Mhm.
anybody else. You know, that doesn't hurt me, doesn't hurt them, doesn't hurt the world. Like if anything, it brings more love to the world. So I can never understand. I can have empathy for it because I've also been that person that's like, what are you
Exactly.
talking
Yes.
about? But I, knowing what I know now, just like you said, once you know better, you do better and you share
Yeah.
better, and hopefully with them being unapologetically themselves and me being unapologetically me and you and everybody, right, that doing the things that doesn't hurt anybody, like hopefully that inspires people to really stand in their truth and in the relationships that they're in,
Yeah.
even when they are rejected, because the sad truth is that there's still some people that, just like these people, that in modern times still are being rejected, or their family are totally not supportive of their relationships, and they have to deal with that and
Yeah.
still be in a healthy functioning relationship. So hopefully these kind of conversations help spread light and allow people to think in a way that really serves others too, and the world around us, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's a good place to end today.
Yeah, I agree. Time flew by. It's
I
crazy. We
know.
used to do 20 minutes. This is an hour. Oh my god.
Oh, I love you.
I love
Thank
you.
you guys for tuning in.
Yes.
I don't know how we want to end this. How did we used to end it? I don't remember.
I mean, this is a totally new thing anyway, so we
I
can redo
know.
it however we want.
Oh, where should people find you if on social media?
Oh, okay. So I am Peña underscore Pequeña pretty much on everything, I think, now. And yeah, on Twitter, I'm on Twitter, YouTube, and Instagram, and Facebook.
Yeah.
What about
Uh,
you?
I am it's pretty much the same across the board as well. IDK underscore Ronnie, RANI. That's on Twitter. That's on Instagram. I'm hardly on Facebook, so don't even worry about that. And yeah, I haven't really been focused on YouTube, so
Okay.
Instagram mostly and Twitter.
Perfect. And then, of course, you can find us together on this
Yes.
page, on this YouTube channel. Oh my gosh. I
And
love
on our Instagram, Honestea underscore talks.
Yes. Perfect.
HONESTEA underscore talks. I'm not sure.
Awesome. Yes. Thank
All
you
right.
guys for tuning
Well, we love you. I love you. Ashley loves you. Peace out
Can
from
we do a
Cal.
heart? Can we
Oh,
do a heart?
wait.
Wait.
Oh my God. One day we're going to have an episode where we're talking about all the stuff that led to this.
Yes. Oh my god, definitely. Oh my
All
gosh.
right.
All right. Bye everyone. Thank you for tuning
Bye.
in.
Do I hit
Tina.
podcast?
Yes. It's okay. This is the first time back.